Good evening, Des Moines, Iowa, and the world. This is the Doc and Lefty program broadcasting to you from the Northside Studios of webcast1live.com. This is Lefty. As always, we're bringing you the perspectives you love from the sides you hate. And I got to tell you, today's show is going to be ridiculous because we've got Mr. Fix-It across the table from me. Ebullient and effervescent as always, Pat Petrosh. Doc, what's happening?
You know, a whole lot of breaking down going on, that's for sure. So there's this fan that keeps the studio cool, and it blows right in my ear. So I have to move the fan just a little bit. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it. So I have to move the fan just a little bit. So I move it a little bit, and then one thing fell off. So then I'm putting that on, and then another thing fell off, and it was a cascade. And so now I come over here and sit down, and I don't have a computer, so there's no way to do any Facebook stuff.
Oh, I've got Facebook. I got to tell you, we're going to get into that a little bit because the post today about the show that we're going to talk about, I don't think that it got more comments than what was the show that we did that had just everybody going absolutely insane.
Oh yeah, that I remember that one. That was just last month.
Oh, actually, I'm wrong. This one's got a lot going on. Well, I mean, we can't bury the lead here.
No, we can't.
And we generally, kind of like to go back and forth and talk about what's been happening and over the past week. But boy, I gotta say, so I'm at home and on Saturday. And just watching TV. I'd done a load of laundry. I had. I was getting ready to, or no, maybe it was Sunday. I don't remember now which day it was, but I was getting ready for the gig that I had Saturday night, and I'd turn on my phone and to check Facebook, and holy cow, I thought it was a hoax. Just as everybody knows by now, Justice Antonin Scalia, Senior Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court, passed away over the weekend, at the age of 79 years old. Shocking stuff, and just a really, I can't imagine how something like that, something happening so sudden. He just went to sleep and didn't wake up the next morning. What his family is going through, what his kids are. He's got 9 kids. What his kids are going through, what his wife is going through. It's just, it's a terrible thing to happen that way. On a hunting trip in West Texas, and unfortunately, we're at the Doc and Lefty show generally trying to stay away from getting deep into the politics about this, but we have to today, I think.
Oh yeah, we have to. First of all, our thoughts and prayers go out to the Scalia family. 2, and as everybody who listens to the show knows, I'm a big conspiracy theorist. Right, I'm always.
I think maybe we should get to that closer to the end. I don't know.
Yeah,
if you want to jump off right now, that maybe that's.
But so we're going to be talking about the conspiracy theories going on out there. 3, this man was an intellectual giant and a leader of the Supreme Court, and to lose a man like this is really not only going to be devastating to the Supreme Court because there's not a way you can really replace him. It's also going to be devastating, I think, to the conservative cause. So, for all those reasons, we're going to talk about Antonin Scalia today, and we're going to try to be as nice as possible about it, and we're going to talk mainly about the impact that he's had and the impact his loss will have going forward. So,
well, and I think that's probably the right way to talk about it. I can just say that as a lawyer who has read a lot of Scalia's opinions that he wrote for the court and read a lot of his dissents, as anybody in history or as any sort of judicial or political figure, I think, and when I say political figure, I mean it like in the small piece sense. I respect the notion that the Supreme Court justices don't see themselves as political figures the way that a congressperson or a president see themselves as political figures. I think that Antonin Scalia broke the mold as far as being the most nakedly political justice, and we can get into some of that and talking about some of his opinions later in the show. But as a figure for jurisprudence, as somebody who articulated the what have been come to be understood as the modern conservative principles of jurisprudence and originalism, it just is a devastating loss. This is a man who, over the course of his long legal career, penned some of the most entertaining and, in certain instances, influential decisions that any jurist could rightly hope to write. And I think, there's 9 justices. They're all famous in their own right, but I think that they're going to put a Justice Scalia up there in the annals of an Oliver Wendell Holmes, of a William Brennan, of a Warren Burger. I think that that's his name, right? No, Earl Warren is who I meant to say. Earl Warren. Some of the Thurgood Marshall. Some of these. Sandra Day O'Connor. I can sit here and list famous justices. I got to stop it at some point.
Stop.
But
you must stop.
Yes, that he's going to go up there. He's going to be as influential and as famous a person in the court as we've seen, and his impact, his influence, I should say, really can't be undersold over the last 30 years.
Well, and one of the things that I wore my tie-dye again. Forgot that it had green in it. One of the biggest impacts, if not the biggest impact, that his decisions have made came in regards to video games. He said that video games are protected under the First Amendment. Mm-hmm. And that really opened up the entire genre of all kinds of games. There are some games I don't like playing. But one game we have in common, Boom Beach, mm-hmm. All protected under free speech. You can now produce them as much as you want for as long as you want, and they contain any kind of content that you want. That's why Grand Theft Auto gets away with what it gets away. Red Dead Redemption, the same thing. You would not have these massively popular games if it wasn't for Antonin Scalia. What would you say to that?
Well, if we want to get into his judicial legacy right now, maybe go over the break and talk some of it, kind of get started on, given a retrospective about the career, I think it's probably a good place to start. The thing about Justice Scalia that I always really enjoyed, and I've talked to other colleagues of mine and my business partner who didn't enjoy him as much as I did. He had a bombastic writing style that was very, very well organized. He's a really good writer. And very entertaining to read. And no one would ever kind of disagree with that. I think a few people thought that some of his opinions and some of his dissents especially were too self-important, were too kind of directly critical in a way that was distasteful. I have always kind of liked folks that take chances in that regard. But what I liked about Justice Scalia is he was really good on the Fourth Amendment. Even though he didn't ever find a right to privacy in the Constitution, he certainly protected the principles of privacy in fighting against law enforcement in illegal search cases and illegal seizure cases over and over again. I can't remember the exact case name off the top of my head, but there's one where police wanted to use a helicopter to surveil. It was a helicopter, or it might have been infrared. Wanted to surveil a house for illegal activity using an infrared camera, and he said that without a warrant, that was an invasion of privacy. He opposed Sandra Day O'Connor. Sandra Day O'Connor got a reputation for being, kind of a typical law and order conservative. That anything that went to kind of further the causes of law and order, she was a champion of, and Scalia certainly sparred with her on things of that nature, making sure that we didn't have overreach by law enforcement in seizure cases, making sure that the right to counsel and the right to due process of law in regards to property and criminal justice rights were protected. And I disagreed with him on a lot of other stuff. I think that he wrote some inconsistent opinions with respect to interstate commerce. The biggest one that I remember is the Gonzales v. Raich, which was the marijuana case out of Oregon. If everybody remembers Gonzales v. Raich in the late 90s, early 2000s, was a case where a woman was growing marijuana in her house on her own property, on her own private property for her own use. Wasn't selling it to anybody. Had a couple of plants that she used to treat. She smoked regularly to treat some kind of one illness or another. And under the Controlled Substances Act, maybe we can get into the details of that.
Let's take a break. We'll come back with some of the history that Antonin Scalia has had on the United States and Supreme Court. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I want to thank all of our sponsors, Bertrosian Associates at bertrosianassociates.com, Lubinas Law Firm at lubinaslawfirm.com, Des Moines Anesthesia at 515-574-6442. They do anesthesia here in Des Moines and in Fort Dodge. Halo Capital at DesMoinesInstrates.com. We'll be back right after this break.